And Charlie Rose is with us now. Charlie, thanks for being here. So one of the things that's been bandied about in Washington is that the president is not as aggressive as perhaps the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Joseph Dunford, wants to be along with the SecDef. What have you learned from talking to him?
2 points. You're absolutely right. The first of all is that there is, on his time and his commitment, is to do more. He said to me, we want to be in Raqqa and we want to be in Mosul. Those are our primary objectives, one in Iraq and one in Syria. So I raised the question, was there some difference with the president? Because there's a feeling in Washington that he said absolutely not, that the president's been pushing us. The president is saying to them, give me options. You know, we have to do something about ISIS, and we want to do something about ISIS right now. So give me options.
You spoke to him before he went to Brussels, and he talked a lot about the frustration of having Russia getting involved, and the fact that it's not just Russia meddling or supporting Assad, it's that they may be extending the civil war. Did he talk about how ISIS will be defeated despite the fact that Russia's there and they're probably not going away?
Well, there's so many players there. You know, Iran is there and Russia's there, and so many people are supporting so many different groups. But what he did say with respect to Russia, he thinks they're making a mistake because they're extending the war, and he doesn't think that's in their long-term interest. But Assad has gotten stronger because of their presence and their airstrikes, and if it becomes a negotiating point, in the short term, Russia will be at an advantage because their client, who's Assad, will be in a stronger position. On the other hand, he talked about the allies, and he said to me, and as he's saying to them, and he said in Brussels, and he says in phone calls to defense ministers around the world, you've got to be in with us now, and we're going to remember who's supporting us now, because we're going to win this, and you will have wanted to be with us, not against us.
When he says in with us, is he just talking about monetary support, or is he talking about troops, planes?
He's talking about three things. He's talking about planes, and he's talking about monetary support, and he's also talking about personnel. The Emirates has already said that they will send troops. The other interesting thing he said in this conversation is that as all this talk about boots on the ground, the U.S. has boots on the ground, 3,500, including special forces who are taking offensive missions, according to the secretary. So it's not just that they're training, advising, looking out and being the eyes for planes and other attack armaments. What they are doing is, in some cases, search and destroy.
So they're on the offensive.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of people, and they don't obviously telegraph this to the world at large, but these special forces troops are on the offensive, taking out targets, and in some cases taking out personnel.
Exactly right. They're absolutely doing that according to the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah. You also talked to Carter about the ongoing encryption debate. You've interviewed Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. What has he said about that? He
basically says it's an issue. It has to do with security. He understands what Tim is trying to say. But at the same time are security issues, and he says that the government and they're doing this. James Comey, the FBI director, is having conversations in Silicon Valley as we speak. They understand the stakes and they understand what the companies are saying. But when you have an iPhone, which was in the hands of one of the San Bernardino killers, and you want to know what's in there, they're saying you got to give us a means to access it. Apple says we don't have that means.
Charlie, let's just listen to a little portion of that interview.
Okay. So if Apple says it's encrypted, we can't help you, what do you say?
Well, I'm not talking about to Apple now. Within our own intelligence system, other ways of getting that same intelligence. With respect to companies, we have to, there is a situation, Charlie, and you and I have talked about this before, where I am trying to build bridges between us and tech companies. Now, I don't expect them to do things to help us that compromise their business position or their international competitive position. But I do want to have enough of a bridge to the tech sector that we can work where possible towards common solutions to common problems.
Now, you had this conversation with him before we heard from Tim Cook, who released an overnight...
Exactly right. I did not know that. But I just I'm interested in encryption and have been interested in it, not only because of earlier conversations with him, but also conversations I've had with Tim Cook.
It certainly seems like those responsible for defense and our national security and the tech companies that are continuing to innovate and grow are worlds apart on this. Does he believe that at some point a middle ground will be met?
I think he does. I mean, you remember, this is a law enforcement issue. This is really an issue for the FBI Director, James Comey, and he's handling that. But he's interested in, the idea of the internet, and a lot of those things came from the Defense Department in the beginning. Some of that innovation and creation has moved to Silicon Valley, and he wants to see a closer relationship. He wants Pentagon people to be there, being aware of what's happening scientifically in terms of new developments in technology. And he also wants people from Silicon Valley to come and spend some time at the Pentagon as well.
Charlie, we were just talking about this during the break, Anne-Marie and I, that one of the questions that perhaps we have as consumers is what would happen if it was a Samsung phone or a phone that's not owned by, or a company that's not owned, that's not American owned. Would the Department of Defense or the Justice Department be able to access those records? Is one of the questions that
it is one of the questions. I mean, this is the big ongoing debate between security on the one hand and freedom and privacy on the other.
Yeah. All right, Charlie Rose, thank you so much for stopping by,
Good to see you guys.
Appreciate it.